Hello and welcome everybody to the Talking Tiger podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kurt Stubbs, and today we have a special guest from Cleveland.com, Mr. Matt Goul. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kurt. How you doing?
Good, good. Um, I know you are a busy man. You have any idea how many games you covered this year, and even in the short season?
I don't really keep track, but I'd say if there was an opportunity to do a Thursday night game, I would do it. But usually it's been Friday, Saturday every week, so we're through 10 weeks, so at least 20. I would say. You know what? There was at least 2 or 3 Saturdays where I did 2 games, so I would say it'd be close to 30. I mean, it's not like crazy like a lot of guys are in basketball season say, but I'll tell you what, football games are a little bit longer. They don't go down easy like basketball games do. Basketball games are like gumdrops.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess and it definitely depends on what team you're covering when it comes to football and the matchups, especially if you get a lot of teams that are throwing incompletions. Um, you know, I've probably been to nine, I think, of 9 of the 10 Central games this year, and they usually get you out of there at about 9 o'clock, which is a rarity because by the time I get home, the TV game is still on. It's usually in like the third quarter. I know Mentor slings it around a little bit, but speaking of
Are
Mentor,
they a little slower this year with those games though? Because I would figure Garner. It looks like Garner's thrown a little bit more than Crenshaw did last year. Just
yeah,
looking at the stats.
well, a lot of the throws that he's making are completions. So and then obviously um, most of their games have been running clocks. Um, a lot of them to
That
start the
that helps
second
with the
half.
pace.
Yeah, I mean that running clock makes a huge difference. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can get those halves in less than 45 minutes at the most if it continues to run. But so, we're gonna talk about Menor here. Um, the opponent for the Tigers on Friday night at Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium, which is a beautiful facility in New Philadelphia.
Yeah, I've
Um,
actually never been there, so
yeah, it's one of those,
yeah,
hidden gems. It's a East District school, but I mean, really close to Canton, the Canton area. So I know a lot of the Pickerington people probably this will be their first time venturing there, and it is a beautiful stadium, and they do a great job of upkeeping there. But so here we are, Menor again for the Tigers. This is 3 times in 4 years. Last year semifinals, 2017 finals, semifinals again. I want to start with this. Something a little new this year, and you could shed some light on this because we've seen our pal uh, Steve Trevisano just recently. Um,
yeah. We
what
saw him last week. He came back up to Menor on Friday to see their regional championship game.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm sure it's kind of a lot of mixed emotions,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously um, leaving Kip with a year left is probably difficult, but family decisions and things like that make it a little easier. But as far
Yeah,
as the coaching transition goes, I know I think is it Matt Gray that's the head coach now.
Matt Gray. Yeah,
So
yeah. Matt Gray is he was the offensive coordinator. So when you're a program like Mentor and known for your offense, it helps to just make that seamless transition with the offensive coordinator. And I think they've looked. It's been the same. I haven't noticed much of a difference at all. You could tell Matt was ready to go for it. He's an Avon grad. I'll actually be seeing his alma mater, Avon, on Friday against Avon Lake. But he's been in that program for a while, and you know, you couldn't tell the difference in who's coaching that football team. And most of the assistants are still there. It's the same staff. So really, not too much has changed. The only difference that's changed is they were really trying to pull that out for Triv last year, and so that was an emotional game for them. But I feel like they feel like I feel like this team's kind of playing with house money. I think it was them or Eds. Medina kind of spoiled the party, but the thing with this Mentor team is, their strength is their defensive front. Although something I'll be interested to everybody in Pickerington is that Brennan Vernon, who you've probably heard of, sophomore defensive end,
Yeah.
big kid. He actually missed about a month with an injury. He came back last week against Medina, and you could tell he wasn't at full strength because he came in first series. Really didn't get too much of a good push because they were really trying to bull rush Medina, force the quarterback out, and they didn't play him off too much. I rewatched a lot of the footage and started thinking, all right, how many times is he out there? And it wasn't every series. So they've got another defensive end who is just as big as him, 2 years older, Greg Pradina. He can do just as much damage as a healthy Brennan Vernon, I think, at least as a senior right now. And they got a nice defensive tackle, Preston Cardina, big boy, who had a couple sacks last week. And that's their strength. They like to apply pressure with their defensive front and usually play their linebackers in coverage, but they can do a little bit of both. And they got a kid named Evan Boyd, who's a senior linebacker, 2.5, 3-year starter. And he's one of those kids, they'll blitz the safety every once in a while to bring an extra defender. But I'll be interested to see what they bring this week, because that's a different animal with Pickering Central, the top team in the state.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that front for Mentor because, and you obviously have seen them more than I have, but I want to say like the difference. I could tell a huge difference from 2017 in the state finals game to last year. I felt like Mentor was a much more physical football team. 20 last year's team compared to that 2017 team, it looked like at least in the game against Central, they came out and they kind of wanted to, you know, I don't know if intimidate's the right word, but they were, trying to make sure that they knew that Central knew that they were going to be physically there for the whole game, because I felt like that state championship game, Central just kind of beat them up in the second half, and it was a totally different type of team last year.
Well, it was really that Mentor team in 2017 was quite interesting because they upset Eds and they upset St. Ignatius with a physical brand of football, but that really wasn't the way they played. I mean, Todd Vastadarunas was more of a drop back quarterback. Ian Kipp came in the following year as a sophomore, and really from the jump, he was a run-first quarterback. And you've really seen this trajectory with him where he's gone from a run-first quarterback to this year. He's got 2,000 yards passing in 10 games, and he really hasn't run it too much at all. Like, I think he's only got, he's definitely not their leading rusher, but he does not take off. He is definitely pass first now, where he was run first 2 years ago. And I would say he was a lot more run heavy a year ago as well. And of course, you guys might remember he was hampered late, tried to come back that last drive and ended it where it ended for them. So, he will try to sling it around. And what's interesting, though, is they've got a brand new receiving core. And, the receiver that really made things work for them was Luke Floria, 3-year kid last.
Oh, yeah.
He's at Kent State now. He's playing right now, I think, Maction tonight. So, so, they definitely lose something not having him, although they've got a junior receiver, Evan Harper, number 24, and he's electric. And, he's not Luke Floria, but, man, I'd say he's the change of pace kid that can really take a short pass and go to the house.
Yeah, when I was watching them on film prior to the game last year, man, I gotta admit, Floria just scared the daylights out of me. I was thinking, oh boy, this is the kind of guy that could really change the game. And I felt like Central did, a pretty good job of limiting him. But, Kip getting that, I want to say it was an ankle, got messed up pretty good. He came in that last series. He was just a sitting duck. He couldn't, give the kid credit for going back out there. But, he's, I'll tell you what, he's fun to watch, man. When he throws a football, it's different than a lot of high school quarterbacks. And I've seen him throw the sidearm and underneath the defensive end's arm and stuff. So he's very crafty back there as well. So he's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, he likes to do that jump throw too. You can tell. Especially, I thought of it when I went to go see them first day of practices in August. he even said something about impersonating Patrick Mahomes. I think, if I remember right, either we said something to him about it, or he said something to us about it, or one of his teammates did. But it kind of like came back because somebody commented about that on Friday. They're like, "Oh, it's just like Patrick Mahomes. He had a little side throw that Harper, for a 80-yard, 60-yard touchdown, I think it was in the second quarter."
So obviously this is Kip's team offensively. I mean, this is year number 3 for him. I mean, it feels like he's started 1,000 games for them. Um, you know, it, and usually the path, you got to go through Iggy, you got to go through Eds, and this year Medina kind of did that for them. And I'm sure they can send him a fruit basket for that. Um, and I felt like in past years, Mentor knocking off Eds has kind of done Central a little bit of a favor as well. I feel like there's been some really good Eds teams. And what was it, 2018? I thought Eds kind of snuck up on people, which is kind of a rarity for Eds to sneak up on somebody, but they caught fire at the right time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they were a 7 seed, I think. They upset Ignatius on the road week 1 of the playoffs. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's probably that Mentor team was the strongest Mentor team physically that I have seen of in my 5 years back in Cleveland. Was that 2018 Mentor team? Noah Potter was a junior, I think. Still,
mm-hmm.
He might have been a senior. Yeah, I lose track anymore. But they had Potter. Vernon was a year away, obviously, so he wasn't there yet. But the Cardina kid was a sophomore on that team, and the Greg Pradina kid was a sophomore on that team. They had a lot of experience in the back half of the defense, and their defense was really good. Like, I thought that Mentor team was going to go to Columbus or Canton.
Yeah. So, as Central fans, come to New Philly, who else? I mean, we know Kip, and you've mentioned some of the wide receivers. Who else can they expect to see, making plays on offense for that team?
Well, they have a running back named Riley Coughlin. He's a senior, and he's a physical back. He can get open and loose, but if he gets open and loose, it's because he's going up the tackles. The last year, you guys might remember a guy named Brian Trobel, who was more of a speedster. Coughlin is a change of pace from him. They worked him in as the season went on, and he got more and more carries as the year went on last year, and used him as that change of pace back. And he is their leading rusher this year. They have a second running back named Panhorst, who has gotten some more carries as of late. I think most of it has come in mop-up time, though, so I think they will run more with Coughlin than anybody else. But obviously, they're going to pass. I would say it's going to be 60-30 pass with this team, 60-30 or 60-40, I should say. And, it depends on the game. Maybe they'll switch things up. They're capable of running it.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously been able to do both in the past. Especially with a guy like Kip, there's a lot of options that you can do. I think the kids you mentioned.
Their offensive line too is a big reason. They have 3 returning starters, whereas like that 2018 team, I mentioned how physical that team was. That team had Ryan Jacoby, Nick Samek, two guys who are playing at Big Ten schools now.
Right.
A year ago, they had those guys gone, and so it was pretty much an all-new offensive line, which surprised everybody because they weren't that big, but they were really crafty, and they've gotten better and better, and they look really strong this year. The left tackle, Hunter Kaleo, he will be an all-district kid for us, so he'll probably be in the running for an all-Ohio nod. I think he's probably our second best lineman this year behind Blake Miller of Strongsville, who just committed to Clemson a week ago. Their physicality, and the reason why Kip has thrown more is he's getting some good protection from those guys too. The center's experienced, the tackles are experienced, and I think that's an untold reason. I think all the time, we lose sight of the offensive line. The offensive line is the big reason why this Mentor team has been so good.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup with their offensive line, because I mean, watching us play for 11 years now, I think it's been, we're not gonna we're not going to trick you. We're going to, we're going to come at you with heat, and if our guys are better than their guys, and that's just kind of how we play. We'll get after quarterback, and a guy like Kip though is scary, man. If you don't get to him, man, he can make you pay for it.
Yeah, got some MAC offers. I think he's been highly under recruited. I think he's the best
Absolutely.
quarterback in our area. Thinking ahead to our Cleveland.com All Area team, I would say, it's either him or Shane Ham as our quarterback this year. Of course, we have Joe Labas, a kid that's going to Iowa. But, I mean, if I had to take one quarterback, I would go on the record right now and say it's Ian Kip. He's the quarterback I would take number one, just because, I mean, he's a big game quarterback. He's big, too. He's 6'5", 6'4". I think he's listed at 6'4", 6'3", but he looks like he's 6'4", 6'5", and he's big. He's strong. He definitely should be playing at the next level at a mid-major school at least.
Yeah, Matt, that was one thing, man. Every time I look, I'm just baffled that kid does not. I mean, it's not like he's coming from a program that's unknown. I mean, this is a program that has a guy in the NFL right now. I mean, and
I haven't been paying too much. You're talking about the recruiting aspect of it.
yeah, I mean, it's surprising to me that he hasn't gotten more. I mean, like you said, he performs in the big games. I mean, it's not like they're playing stiffs.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think COVID has a lot to do with it. I
Yeah,
think if he would have gone to a camp in the spring, I think he would have really shown up and really impressed some guys. Obviously, because he's throwing a lot. I expected him to be running more than he is this year, and he's really come into his own as a quarterback, as a pocket passer. And I think that would have shown some teams some stuff. And I hope he's one of those kids that maybe gets another offer or two. I know Toledo and Kent State were looking at him. I think Kent State is still on him. I think Toledo's backed off, but just looking at the 24/7 stuff, I don't really talk to the kids too much about recruiting. I think they should just be kids.
right.
But whoever gets him, and like if he ends up, I'll tell you what, Kent State should if Kent State, I'm a Kent State grad. If Kent State ends up with him and Luke Floria, look out.
Yeah, that would be a huge coup for them. Um, I got two more questions I want to ask you before I let you jump off here. I know you're coming off a big district day. Um, One is, you know, I'll talk just about the game last year, and hearing people, and every fan base has their people, but there may have been a couple of calls that could have went their way last year, that maybe changed the course of that game a little bit. I have to believe that there's probably a sour taste in their mouth about this one from last year, and I'm sure this is a game that they will be really anticipating.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't. I'll tell you what, you know how kids can get, especially in the moment, and they had a laser focus about them when we were asking them about it on Friday. They have a matter of fact business approach, and that's something that Trevisano always had. Although I think the kids really did get wrapped up in win one for Triv last year. I
Yeah,
really do. But other than that, they've always been business first, and I really sense that with this group. They're not trying to win it for anybody. They're just trying to go out and let their play take care of itself. So they're the type of team that doesn't really get rattled. And Medina pushed them in that first game week one. Medina was up early. And then Mentor came back, took a slim halftime lead. Quarterback Aller got hurt, warming up for the second half. But I'll tell you what, Medina has a backup quarterback who's pretty good too. The biggest problem is he's a lefty, so that kind of throws some things out of whack. But they took their best punch. I think that game would have gone back and forth. That's a game where I think anybody can win it. They play 10 times, it probably goes 5-5. But I expected you guys to be playing Eds at this moment, but I kind of go back and forth. Obviously, I picked Pick Central today in my preview capsules, but I wouldn't be surprised if I think it's going to be a great game.
yeah. I would be, knowing how Coach Sherritt likes to play these big games. He's gonna his philosophy, and this isn't just coach speak. His philosophy is just be 1 point better than the team you're playing against, and let's move on. And I know that this is the type of game where he's going to want to pound the rock. He's going to want to drain the clock, and he's going to want to rely on that defense. Mentor probably is a team that, they want to get. I'm sure they'll want to get the pace of the game going a little
Yeah.
bit quicker. Kind of the last thing I wanted to ask you was,
And I think for them it's more of a rhythm thing than controlling the clock too.
right.
If you can keep them off the field long enough, all it takes is 1 3 and out to get them. I haven't seen them get out of rhythm yet. So who knows? They could get into a funk and bounce right back out of it for all I know. But they have not been out of rhythm yet. So that's a style that you got to, I think, approach with them. And that's kind of the style I think that Ed's approached with them, because when Ed's beat them in week 2 or 3, it had to be week 3 because Hogan had beaten Ed's pretty good the previous week.
Yeah.
But St. Edward does not abandon the run, and St. Edward was down in that game. They did not abandon the run. So, and that's another thing. Like if you're patient with them, I think that's the thing that would serve Pick Central well, and I don't expect them to lose patience even if they were down in a game like that. I think you can be down double digits and come back. I think this game's going to be a fabulous game.
Yeah, you look at the couple of the games last year. Central was, Mentor hit him with that quick score with that pass over the middle in the semis, and then Elder got into him early, got a fast start. But Jay usually, not usually. I could probably say rarely ever does he go away from the game plan, and they just. In those 2 games, they just continued to pound it, and they figure that they're going to eventually wear you down. And I think last year, one of the big differences, Matt, like you mentioned keeping Mentor's offense off the field. When you had a guy like Crenshaw in like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, it was like, like you can't stop this guy on 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, because he's going to fall forward, and I never felt like he put the offense in a bad position. He never tried to make a crazy play. He would always just get what he could get and make things manageable. And he was able to keep Mentor at bay, their offense at bay, with some continued drives last year. And it'll be interesting to see because, as you mentioned, with Wallace, they do think. They run a lot of the same stuff, but it's more of Nick Mosley this year than Crenshaw on those 3rd and 2s. What's that?
He did a lot of damage in the semifinal last year, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, looking at that score last week, Mentor Medina, the reason why it was so lopsided was Medina abandoned their game plan. Afterward, their coach said, hey, we wanted to run the football, and they were while it was going back and forth. And for whatever reason, they had 2 turnovers, and they just went to more passing game, abandoned the run, which is really what got them to the dance. They were trying to play a little more conservative because that was Medina's problem all year, was bugaboos with the turnovers. And once they curbed that with the running game, they let it go, and Mentor just kind of ran away with it, because you don't want to get into, like you said, a pace game with Mentor.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I think I watched maybe the first 5 or 6 plays. I've been meaning to get back to it from last week's game, and if you remember, like the first 4 or 5, maybe 6 plays for Medina, they were chewing up yardage on the ground, like Mentor's defense wasn't even there.
Yeah, and the big thing is they number 1 for Medina. He was kind of like this year's Luke Floria for them. He's a little bit bigger, stronger. He's a fabulous receiver, and I think it probably just took a little while for Mentor to get their bearings on him and how to cover him, because he really the little slot receiver Jackson ended up catching some of their bigger balls later, because they were shading so much more to him. They opened up for the other guys, so that I think that's the thing, I mean, they're a defense, they're a smart defense, they can adjust, and I think that was the big thing there in that Medina game. They made the proper adjustments while Medina did not.
Well, Matt, I'll let you go on this. As a Pick Central guy, I know how it is to be in this position. We were at the near the top of the mountain many times, whether it was in the finals or in the semifinals. A lot of times in the semifinals, and it was just like, it was like on the movie The Christmas Story, where the Santa Claus, kicks Ralphie back down the slide. Um, and I feel like for Mentor, uh, if it's to me, it's the best program in the state
Mm-hmm.
without that signature state title. And I felt like for Coach Sherritt and Pick Central, they were in that position uh, in 2017 when they finally got that proverbial monkey off their back. Um, you know, it is kind of the sense around that program is. I mean, is it just you know like I mean, I know they know they're successful, but is that kind of in the back of their mind?
I think that's always the scuttlebutt for the alumni and stuff like that. And you heard a lot last year, and I think a lot of it had to do with Triv being
Yeah.
his last year. But I think with Gray in there now, it's kind of I mentioned everything's pretty much the same with that staff, but there is a different energy about it. Of just like I feel like there was like a weight on this program last year, and it really was a win-one for Triv type of a situation. I remember going the first day of practice. Usually, last few years, Mentor's been my first trip on the first day of August, and there was that win-one for the Gipper type of attitude from among the kids, even from day one, and it came up many, many times. And I think probably to the point where I think it bothered Triv maybe a little bit too. He was hoping that they wouldn't think that so much, but I really don't get that sense this year. Granted, I've only seen them twice, and with COVID and congregating and stuff like that, my approach has been, hey, let's get into the field as late as possible.
Yeah.
But, everybody I've talked to, I really don't sense that this year. I could be wrong, but that's not the sense I get.
Well, nonetheless, it should be, as you mentioned, it should be a fabulous game, as you said, this Friday night. Looking forward to it. Matt, I'll let you get going. Go root on your Golden Flashes, and I'll go root on my Bobcats.
OU. Sounds good. You have a good one.
All right, thanks, Matt.
All right.